Welcome back, everyone. It is April 18th, 2020. I am Jerry Hall, and here are my thoughts from Costa Rica. A quick look at the crypto market top 10 shows us not a lot of action going on, which, is okay. A peek over to gold, which is always a good idea to contrast what's going on in the crypto markets with the world of investors who are looking to preserve their wealth, preserve their purchasing power. Gold has traditionally been one of those assets. And we see gold's taken a little bit of a hit the last few days. A lot of different reasons why, some of which maybe at a later time we'll go into. But for the purposes of this video, I want to stay very current because there are many events at play here that we should keep our eyes on. One of which I want to draw attention to. From this daily briefing, some statistics were put out. And I will tell you, Real Vision is top shelf. These guys do a wonderful job. Matter of fact, I prefer their content to mainstream media's business channels, your CNBC, CNN, Fox Business News, MSNBC, what have you. In their daily briefing, they state, as it pertains to quarantines, shelter in place, etc., the UK announced a 3-week extension. That's England. You've got New York extending their shelter in place rules or suggestions or guidelines or whatever you want to call it until May 15th. And Japan, the country, issued a state of emergency address. Folks, this is not over. What the world will look like in the coming months is really just a guess. I look to these guys for educated guesses. They don't deal in certainties, they're dealing in probabilities. They're letting us know what's going on. And for that, I'm truly grateful. So in Washington, yikes, in Washington, there's another bill being put together. One that would allocate $2,000 a month to American citizens. Now, I put the headline here. You can see it came from ABC 15 News. Emergency money for the People Act would provide 2,000 monthly payments to Americans. If you really want to get into this, I strongly suggest you go check this article out. I'm not going to read it to you in this particular installment, but it's definitely worth looking into what they are attempting to do. This appears to be an attempt to get money into the economy, into the hands of Americans where it can be spent on goods and services. Every economist that I've listened to over the last 2 weeks is stating that until capital is injected into the economy at the ground level, and that means you and I going out and spending our money on gas, groceries, new vacuum cleaners, etc., that what we can look forward to is a deflation followed by an inflation, possibly hyperinflation. This never bodes well for people who are concerned about and understand the purchasing power of the dollars they have today. These are key financial thoughts that any of us who deal in the world should be concerned of. the ability for you to acquire goods and services, if your currency is being eroded through debasement, which is new circulating supply, these are causes of concern. Now, oftentimes I feel, what the heck can I do about it, right? Well, I'll tell you, this tweet from Mark Cuban, and like him or not like him, Mark Cuban is an interesting guy. Mark writes in this tweet, explain to me how banks will make $17.5 billion in fees for managing those, loans being generated through the Small Business Association, et cetera, and they can't lose money on it. Number one, it wasn't their money they're lending. They're just acting as a vehicle for the money that was created through the Fed and Treasury. Referring back to the tweet here, yet for some reason, half the qualifying businesses and most of the independent contractors can't get a response to their applications. Now, what he's done is he's tagged the politicians. Retweeting these type of tweets, creating your own tweet and getting some traction, emailing your representatives, both in the House and in the Senate, have a positive impact in getting at least your voice heard. How much of that will actually influence policy? That's anybody's guess. But if there are enough people who basically tell their senators and their representatives, if you don't act in the best interest of the American people, then we will replace you come next election. And when those numbers start to hit polls and the metrics that they recognize as being important metrics for their reelection, you will hear responses. That is what democracy is all about. So use your voice or lose your voice. It's up to you. I want to draw your attention to this last piece here. This morning, I woke up and of course checked out my new installment from Jungle Inc. And I just always have appreciated his contribution to this space. I've never considered him hypey. He's never presented cases to me that are far-fetched. I've always appreciated his approach. And at the very end of his video, he asks the question, he'd like to hear from the audience, why did they get into XRP? What drove them? And so here's my reply. Jungle, you asked, why did I put my money into XRP? Well, after a couple of months of review, I determined that XRP had the tech and the team to be the market leader in the cross-border payment space. That analysis has only grown stronger over the last 2 years, even though the price hasn't reflected it. Believe me, there have been many times over the last 2 years where I've asked myself, Jerry, were you just wrong? Did you not analyze this correctly? Were there unseen forces that you didn't take into account? What was wrong with your process? And really, after considerate review, going back to the things that I believe to be fundamental, the answer is no, I was not wrong. The answer is I'm early. Many of you may be having those same thoughts and feelings. Did I go all in and that was the right move? No. In retrospect, I'll tell you it wasn't the right move. The right move would have been to continue to average cost in, continue to seek an income elsewhere and carry on. And many of you have, and bravo to you. Truth is, I've made my bed. I have to lie in it. Caution, folks. Nobody can tell you when this is going to happen, but consensus says it will happen. And I think that's true for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. The big three, I think, are locked in winners. There'll be other winners. I can't, it's too early to call them. I'm being a little bit more reserved nowadays. Those are my thoughts, folks. Hope you have an incredible day. I would appreciate subscribing to the channel, hitting the notification bells, hitting that like button, and leave me a comment with my question for you is, in a couple of words, what brought you to cryptocurrency? That's it for me, folks. And until next time, Pura Vida.